Okay, today we're going to start on chapter 34. When I left off yesterday, Charles, Haley Daly, and Andrew had split apart a little bit. Haley's going back to one room to find some clues, and Charles and Andrew are trying to find out what Kyle's been up to. And it sounded to me like Charles is not even going to let Haley or Andrew win, even if all three of them get to the end. So we need to find out what happens. Chapter 34. Veering left the instant she reached the second floor, Haley made her way toward the 400 room. She figured that Charles and Andrew had probably missed something important in the foreign languages room because they'd spent so much time talking to these awesome mannequins that they'd told them about their American heritage. As she rounded the bend, Haley saw Kyle Keeley and his crew tumble out of the 200s room. It looked like Miguel was carrying a Bible, but a Bible wasn't one of the books on the display in the staff picks case. We're following separate paths to the same goal, Haley thought, and somewhere those two paths are going to collide. Haley slid her card key down the reader slot in the 400 store. The lock clicked and she pushed the door open. The room was dimly lit. Bienvenida, bienvenue, Wadami, Guacabara, Russia. Welcome, boomed a voice from the ceiling speakers. Sorry, said Haley, blindly feeling her way forward and bumping into something hard and lumpy. This is the 400s room, home of the foreign languages. Here, Haley, you can learn all about your American heritage. A bank of spotlights thumped on. Haley was basically hugging a department store mannequin. An overhead projector beamed a movie onto the dummy to her left, turning it into a perky woman who looked like Haley would probably look a couple of years after she graduated from college. Hello, Haley. Welcome to your American heritage. Let's begin your voyage. That's okay. I don't have time right now. I'm Haley Daly. My ancestors were Irish, okay? So can we skip the history lesson and... Suddenly, two mannequins at the far end of the row turned into sepia-toned versions of her great-great-great-grandmother and her great-great-great-grandfather. Haley knew it was them because her dad had a bunch of old photos hanging in their family living room. The two dummies looked exactly like Patrick and Una Daly did in their wedding portrait. No man ever wore a scarf as warm as his daughter's arm around his neck, said Patrick in his thick Irish brogue. Your dad's proud of you, Haley. Thanks, but I really need to win this competition. Watch out for the sneaky rascal, said Una, then would steal the sugar out of your punch. Haley had to smile. It sounded like her ancestor had already met Charles Chiltington. And always remember, Haley, said her great-great-great-grandfather, every woman's mind is her kingdom. Rule it wise, lassie. I'm trying. This library can help, said her great-great-great-grandmother with a wink. And when she did, a secret panel in the wall slid open. What's going on, said Haley. You're our third visitor, boomed the jolly announcer in the ceiling. So, according to the American Heritage Dictionary of Idioms, available in our reference department, by the way, the third time is a charm. Therefore, as our third visitor, you have won this charming bonus. 2 bonuses in one day. She was right. Mr. Lemoncello definitely wanted Haley Daly to win this game because clearly he knew she would be the perfect, best-looking spokesmodel for his holiday commercials. Don't worry, sir, Haley said to the nearest TV camera. I won't let you down. She hurried through the open wall panel and into the 300s room on the other side. Ta-da! The first thing she saw was one of the books they had been searching for all day long, True Crimes, Ohio, the Buckeye State's Most Notorious Brigands, Burglars, and Bandits by Claire Taylor Winters. She opened the front cover and found the hidden 4x4 card. It took her 2 seconds to decipher the clue. Band and it's. Bandits! Haley remembered another bit of Irish wisdom, something her dad had said all the time. Never bolt the door with a boiled carrot. She decided to keep this new clue secret and secure. She wouldn't share it with Charles or Andrew. Haley took off her left sneaker, folded the card in half, and slid the clue into her shoe for safekeeping. When her sneak was laced up tight again, she took the True Crime Ohio book off its display stand and tucked it into the bookshelf, making sure it was in its proper position, right between 364.1091 and 364.1093. That way she would know where to find it if for whatever reason she needed that book again. Haley looked up at the nearest camera and flashed at her brightest toothpaste commercial smile. Go Lemoncello! That's a cheer I just made up. We can use it in one of the commercials after I win. Chapter 35. Entrance to Community Meeting Room B will only be granted to Kyle Keeley, Sierra Russell, Akimi Hughes, and Miguel Fernandez, said a soothing female voice in a ceiling after the 4 teammates had swiped their cards through the meeting room door's reader slot. This makes sense, said Akimi. We needed a place to organize all this material. Put it on the walls and draw a chart like the FBI always does on TV when they're talking about the mob. Stole the meeting room idea from me, Keeley? Charles Chiltington was standing in the doorway to meeting room A on the far side of the rotunda. No, said Kyle, we just needed someplace to throw our victory party after we win. Not going to happen, Charles said smugly. Must I remind you, I'm a Chiltington. We never lose. And he disappeared back into meeting room A. After Charles was gone, Kyle led his team meeting into meeting B. Miguel posted the blank blueprints he had found up on the walls, while Sierra set up the Bibliomania game board on the conference table. I'm glad this room won't let anybody else in, said Kyle. And by anybody, you mean Charles Chiltington, right, said Akimi? Totally. Akimi grabbed a marker and wrote a neat outline on the dry erase walls. Clues so far, definite clues. Number 1, from the 000's room, get to know your local library. From the Art and Artifacts room, Willy Wonka candy rhymes with Andy, maybe find glass elevator. From the 200's room, Bible verse, thou shalt not steal. Probably clues, books and authors on the backs of library cards. Maybe clues, statues ringed around the dome. Thomas Wolfe, Booker T. Washington, Stephen Sondheim, George Orwell, Lewis Carroll, Dr. Seuss, Maya Angelou, Shel Silverstein, Pseudonymous Bosch, and Todd Strasser. Wow, said Akimi, stepping back to study the walls. What an incredible mess. Yeah, said Kyle. Okay, guys, there are 8 more book rooms to explore and who knows how many more wild cards. Whose turn is it? Yours, said Sierra. Kyle flicked the spinner. Green, the 500s, science. He pulled the first green card from the deck. 4 and 20 were once in a pie. 598.367 might tell you why. Blackbirds, said Miguel. I guess. Well, sighed Akimi, let's go check out another book. There's still like an inch or 2 left on our whiteboard. The 500s room was like a miniature museum of natural history. In addition to towering walls of books, there was a whole planetarium of stars and constellations projected on the ceiling. Models of planets whirled in their orbits. Sparkle-tailed comets shot around the corners of the bookshelves. Kyle and his teammates made their way back to the 590s zoology. Old Greek and Latin word. Shelving units were arranged in a square around an open area, maybe 20 feet by 20 feet wide. When the team entered the empty space, the lights dimmed and a guy with long, wavy hair who looked like an artistic Daniel Boone faded into view. He was wearing some kind of bear fur coat and toting a musket. Bonjour, said the hologram. It's John James Audubon, said Sierra, the famous ornithologist. This guy gives people braces, said Kyle. No, said Sierra with a laugh. He studied and painted birds. A blackbird with a yellow beak flew into the open area and roosted on a tree branch. The bird and the tree were both holograms, too. This beautiful blackbird from Alexandria, Ohio, said the semi-transparent Audubon image, can mimic in the songs the sound it has heard. The bird started wailing. Wow, said Akimi, that sounds exactly like a police siren. Yo, said Miguel, that's freaky. To learn more, said Audubon, be sure to read Bird Songs, Warbles, and Whistles, written by Dr. Diana Victoria Garcia, with the classic illustrations by moi. With that, Audubon sat down on a camp stool. An easel appeared. The blackbird struck a pose, and the outdoorsy artist started painting the bird's portrait while humming Blackbirds by the Beatles. Okay, said Kyle, this is the strangest clue yet. Well, here's the book at least, said Sierra, who had found 598.367 on the shelf. What do blackbirds, whales, and warbles have to do with finding our way out of the library? Asked Akimi. Just then they heard a very different sound. Behind one of the bookcases, something growled and roared. Did you guys hear that? Said Sierra. Yeah, said Akimi. I don't think that's a robin redbreast. A very rare white Bengal tiger with icy blue eyeballs crept out from behind the wall of bookshelves and stalked into the open area where Audubon sat painting his bird portrait. Is that another hologram? Asked Miguel. Roar! No one stuck around to find out. Chapter 36. Down on the first floor, Charles and Andrew were working their way around the semicircle of 3-story tall Florida Dome bookcases filled with fiction. It was nearly 8 p.m. We need to find that blasted book, said Charles, craning his neck to study the shelves. I'm getting kind of hungry, mumbled Andrew. You had a snack this afternoon, snapped Charles. Well, now it's time for dinner. No, we need to find Anne of Green Gables first. The classic by Lucy Maud Montgomery was the middle book on the top shelf in the staff picks display case. So far, Charles, Haley, and Andrew had not been able to find it anywhere in the library. Unfortunately, said Andrew, they've temporarily erased the book's call numbers from the database. So we wouldn't know what to punch into the hover ladder's control panel, grumbled Charles. Actually, said Andrew, they might have shelved it in the children's literature room, or maybe the 800s with literature. Could it be in the 400s too, because it was originally written in Canadian, which is technically a foreign language. So you have said, Andrew, repeatedly, but we've already searched those other locations several times. It has to be here with the other fiction titles. You just need to fly up and find it. Well, said Andrew, I'm kind of afraid of heights. Fine, whatever, I'll go up and grab it, but you have to give me some kind of a call number to enter into the hover ladder. Well, Lucy Maud Montgomery wrote other Anne books. There's Anne of Avonlea. Charles dashed over to the nearest library table and swiped his fingers across the glass face of its built-in computer pad. Here we go. Anne of Avonlea by Lucy Maud Montgomery, F to M-O-N. Yep, said Andrew. Fiction books are usually put on shelves in alphabetical order by the author's last name. Nonfiction titles are classified according to the Dewey Decimal System. How long have you known this? Andrew's nose twitched. Since second grade. So all we ever needed was F to M-O-N. We could have found this book hours ago. Andrew gulped. You are such a disappointment. Shaking his head, Charles hopped over to one of the hover ladders. He quickly jabbed F-M-O-N into the keypad. The boot clamps locked into place around his ankles. You owe me for wasting all this time, Andrew. You owe me big time. If you let me down once more, I swear I will tell everybody you are a big blubbering baby. I will Twitter it and post it on Facebook. Don't worry, I'll make you glad you picked me for your team, Charles. I promise. The hover ladder lifted off the floor and gently glided up to the M section of the fiction wall. Shuttling sideways, it carried Charles over to the shelf displaying all the Anne books. He grabbed a copy of Anne of Green Gables. As soon as he did, the ladder started its slow descent to the floor. What'd you find? Asked Andrew when Charles landed. The clue we needed. He showed Andrew the card that had been tucked inside the front cover. So C plus this silhouette of a girl. Okay, said Andrew, it's C plus hat, so the word is chat, which by the way could also be shot, the French word for cat. Well done, Andrew, said Charles, even though he knew the clue was really C plus Anne equaling can. Thereby making the puzzle, you can walk out the way blank blank, in, past blank. The way what did what, he wondered, and what does in even mean? Charles desperately needed to find the 3 missing pictograms. Suddenly, Mr. Lemoncello's voice boomed out of the speakers, ringing the rotunda. Hey, Charles, hey, Andrew, let's do a deal. Game show music blared. A canned crowd cheered. Charles turned around and saw shafts of colored light illuminating 3 envelopes perched on top of the librarian's round desk. Clarence, the security guard, marched into the reading room and folded his arms over his chest, took up a position near the 3 envelopes. We have a green envelope, a blue envelope, and a red envelope, said Mr. Lemoncello. In 2 of those 3 envelopes are copies of 2 of the 3 pictogram clues that you still need. In one, there is a clunker card. If you pick an envelope with a clue, you get to keep it, and you get to keep going. But once you pick the clunker card, you're done, and you must suffer the consequences. Andrew raised his hand. Yes, Andrew. What are the consequences? Something bad, said Mr. Lemoncello. In fact, something this wicked this way will probably come. Do you want to do the deal? Yes, said Charles. The canned audience cheered. All right then, Charles, you roll first. Pardon? Swipe your fingers across the nearest desktop computer panel. The Dice Tumbler app is up and running. Again, the pre-recorded audience cheered. They sounded like they loved watching dice tumble more than anything in the world. Charles slid his fingers across a glass pane. The animated dice rolled. Ooh, cried Mr. Lemoncello. Double sixes, that gives you a 12. Is that good, sir? Maybe, maybe not. Okay, Andrew, your turn. Peckelman tapped the glass. The dice flipped over. Another set of doubles, said Mr. Lemoncello. Yeah, muttered Charles. 2 ones. Snake eyes. Is that bad? Asked Andrew. Maybe, said Mr. Lemoncello. Maybe not. Okay, guys, which envelope would you like to open? Charles thought about it while the music tick-tock played. They were given the chance to play Let's Do a Deal after they located the Anne of Green Gables clue. Coincidence? He did not think so. We'll take the green envelope. Clarence presented the green envelope to Charles. Open it, said Andrew. Open it. Charles undid the clasp, pulled out a card. A loud zonk rocked the room. The card was black with blocky white type. Uh-oh, mumbled Andrew. What does it say on that card? Sorry, kids, you're out of luck, read Charles. So out the doors, you're all now stuck. Clarence picked up the blue and red envelopes and marched back toward the entrance hall. What does that mean? Asked Andrew. Well, said Mr. Lemoncello, Charles rolled a 12 and you rolled a 2. What's 12 plus 2? 14, said Charles eagerly, the way he had always did in math when he wanted to remind the teacher that he was the smartest kid in the class. Ooh, said Mr. Lemoncello, that's not good. In fact, I would say that's a stinkerific. Stinkerific, said Andrew. Is that even a word? It is now, said Mr. Lemoncello. JJ, tell them what they've lost. An authoritative female voice boomed out of the ceiling speakers. Warning, due to a clunker card, all 10 Dewey Decimal doors will lock in 10 minutes. At exactly 8 o'clock, if you are in one of those rooms, kindly leave immediately. The 10 doors on the second floor will remain locked for 14 hours. Andrew panicked. What? 14 hours? I told you 2 plus 12 was bad, quipped Mr. Lemoncello. Of course, it could have been good. If you had picked up one of the envelopes, you would have received a clue and a free 14-month subscription to Library Journal. Charles did some quick math. Sir, does this mean that we will be locked out of the 10 Dewey Decimal rooms until 10 o'clock tomorrow morning? Bingo, said Mr. Lemoncello. It sure does. This stinks, whined Andrew. We need those stupid rooms to solve your stupid puzzle. Clunker cards stink. This game stinks. 14-hour penalties stink. Charles did his best to block out Andrew's rant. He needed to think, and then it hit him. Kyle Keeley's team had to be working on some other solution to the bigger puzzle of how to escape from the library. Otherwise, Charles and his team would not have been able to find the 9 clues they'd already picked up. Sure, if Keeley's team had been playing the same memory match game, they would have found at least one of the pictograms before Charles, Andrew, or Haley did. They must be working a completely different angle. Charles was certain that if he could use this downtime to learn what Keeley and his team had in their meeting room combined with his picture puzzle, he would emerge from the library victorious. Do not despair, Andrew, Charles said confidently. We're still going to win. How? Charles leaned in and cupped his hands around his mouth so no security cameras could read his lips. Remember, he whispered, you need to pay me back for wasting a ton of time for finding Anne of Green Gables. What? You're the one who picked the stupid green envelope with the stupid clunker card. Charles narrowed his eyes and chilled his hushed voice. So? Nothing, said Andrew nervously. Just thought, I don't know, I would point it out. Charles turned his eyes into ice blue. So, whispered Andrew, swallowing hard, what exactly do you want me to do? I want you to find a way to sneak into community meeting room B. Andrew wheezed in panic. That's impossible. Don't worry, I have an idea. What is it? 2 words. Sierra Russell. We'll see what those boys are up to tomorrow.